The new world PTR has been delayed, but we actually have the patch notes for it and there is some juicy stuff in here. So let's jump in and show you what we've got. Now, interestingly, this has actually been brought to us on Steam. Obviously, they don't have the website for the patch notes anymore, so they're putting them here. Well, they don't have the forums, they actually have the website, obviously. And they're doing these in waves, so the first release is actually going to be the summer event, the 3v3 arena, and the first light retraction. Worth noting that the Sandworm trial is number 3. Number 4 is Cross-World Outpost Rush. I'm not sure how they can do that on the PTR. There simply won't be enough Outpost Rushes going on. Maybe they'll do 2 servers. I don't really know. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe they'll make an event. Now, there's quite a lot of patch notes again, but what I'm going to try and do is just pick out the interesting bits. If I read all of this to you, we'll be here about 50 minutes, and I don't have time for that. It's literally like after midnight, so we're going to pick out the juicy bits. Some of the juicy bits include the fact that you can now search in your inventory for perks. This is going to be interesting. So a lot of quests have been fixed. I don't really see too much interesting apart from the fact that they've resolved an issue where PvP missions would not reset after players recalled back to town. Good, this is all good stuff. They've increased the visibility of the AoE attacks by Nishon in Tempest Art. Never know how to actually say that, but that's the not the worm, the snake guy, I think. Good, because it's very hard to see anything in that dungeon. And then one of the first big ones, I'd seen a lot of players complaining about this recently, and I actually sort of blows my mind that we didn't all kick off about it sooner, but they said here that they have increased the player base HP across all levels by 10%, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting change. Well, this change was made to compensate for the removal of Hale and Hearty Town buff. So there's that buff and there's another one which I'm sort of forgetting the name of, but they are being removed, and instead of just sort of letting everybody have 10% less health, which would be really bad, I guess, they're giving everybody back it, so you're definitely always going to have Hale and Hearty effectively, and that's really good, because having it because your town didn't have it, or not having it because your town didn't have it, was really stupid. They are increasing the value of the non-combat 300 in attribute bonus from 10% to 25 to give it slightly more value. I think that's a reduction in Azov cost, but maybe I'm looking at the old one there. I can't really remember off the top of my head. A couple of interesting combat changes. Players now leave combat 1 second after killing the final enemy in an engagement, so if you've killed everybody, you're going to get out of combat a lot quicker. And they've reduced the default in combat timer to 10 seconds from 20, so if you get out of combat, you're going to get out quicker even if you don't kill them. And this next one's a little bit interesting because they've made it so that the player is no longer slowed if they become exhausted by being block broken. So if you actually do become block broken, you're not going to like just stand around basically. You're going to be able to move, and at your normal speed at that. Speaking about blocking, I'm a little bit less sure about this section. I don't quite get the point. We asked for blocking to make a bit of a return, but I'm not really sure this is the return we wanted. Basically what they're doing is if you block with anything other than a sword and shield, you are now going to reduce some of the damage from ranged attack. I'm not sure it's really going to have a massive impact, but maybe I'm just sort of misjudging it. Effectively, one-handed weapons, you'll reduce 50% of the range attack. For two-handed, you'll do a reduction of 30%. And for magic weapons, it's 40%. Feels like they could have split the difference there and just done 40 for everything, but okay. It's interesting because this whole thing is to sort of diminish range damage a little bit. But I think people are still just going to dodge everywhere rather than block. But I mean, maybe I'll be wrong, we'll have to wait and see. Shield has remained unchanged, apart from the fact you will now move a little bit quicker whilst blocking. Okay, cool. There are some changes to some weapons, not very much. For example, the blast shot is getting increased by 1 meter, which obviously doesn't sound like much, but it is in game. The bow is getting changed a little bit. It's like these are actually buffs on the range of arrows. Increase the radius. The fire staff, there's not many changes here, but the pillar of fire is getting nerfed a little bit. These are the bits where if I talk too much about them, I will inevitably get the meta completely wrong. My instinct would be that the bow's buffed a little bit, fire staff maybe nerfed a little bit, even though incinerate's actually buffed, but pillar of fire is one of the most important weapons. Great axe a little bit buff. Great sword probably staying about the same. Hatchet too complicated for me to understand, well, to understand quickly. Ice gauntlet mostly unchanged. Life staff, a little bit of a mixed bag. Musket mostly unchanged. Sword and shield, a bit of a mixed bag, but it sort of looks like a little bit of a buff. Spear, mostly unchanged, minor buff. Void gauntlet, I think mostly unchanged. Warhammer, I think slightly buff. Rapier, not much changes, I don't think. If I'm wrong on any of them, don't hate me, it's just a quick, instant opinion. We are getting some changes to Invasions and Outpost Rush, of course. They've increased the difficulty of earlier waves to smoothen out the ramp. I still think it's probably going to be easy, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, Invasion invites only come 5 minutes before the battle starts instead of 15. That's a good change. And the whole duration of the thing will be 25 minutes instead of 30. So the whole thing in total will take 30 minutes. Outpost Rush is getting some big changes. Nothing like revolutionary, I don't think, but some important changes. changes. They've changed, for example, the siege weapons. The damage is going to be increased. They've increased the base range thrust damage for the gates, so if you shoot with ranged, it's going to do less damage to the gates. Ranged thrust damage resistance is further increased with each upgrade. The corrupted portal event, now you get a brute summon after all the enemies have been defeated and you close the portal by interacting with it. The event is on a timer, offering another place for PvP players to engage, basically trying to get you away from the current point and put you over to the corrupted portal. Okay, cool. They've removed the 750 Azoth bank, so I don't think you hand in Azoth now to the corrupted portal. I think it's just an event. You can get summons from the Alpha Wolf and the corrupted portal event. Okay, cool. They have added an interactable shield wall at both entrances that prevents ranged attacks from going through in order to prevent long range sniping. So it sounds like it's gonna be like a gate, I think. I'm a little bit curious about that. It's interactable. I don't really mind if you're like raising it up, but if you literally have to do it like a gate, that's going to be a bit weird. Not a fan of the way that sounds. They've updated some of the scoring. They've added a new personal scoring vector for tanking. I wonder if that basically means we're going to give you some points if you take damage. You will now only drop half your resources if you die. Okay, that's interesting. For the PvP arena, they're buffing the rewards. So the first 2 arenas now give you 1 extra weapon and armor each, or armor I should say. These are the same as the Outpost Rush weapons and armors, so you can actually upgrade them to 600 and get the legendary. So that's a good change. PvP arena really felt left out of New World. And the salt and the XP rewards have been increased, depending on the number of rounds won. Okay, cool. Minor change to open world PvP, you now get more salt. Well, you get a guaranteed 800 salt actually, as long as it's been alive for 10 minutes and flagged. So an important one that you might want to act on right now is that they've adjusted the attribute perks to Gypsum Cast to optimize them towards the item's preferred stat. So that's a classic. If you get like a heavy item, it's probably going to be more likely to have con. If you get medium, maybe it's more likely to have dex. And if you get light, maybe it's more likely to have int, that kind of thing. A great axe would maybe have strength. Cool, nice. That means you might want to save these up and then use them later on when the patch goes live. As we said earlier, they have now removed the Hale and Hearty buff and Stalwart as well, actually. They've also added these items as drops. The Clothier, Costumer, Prevender and Grocer. So I think these are just going to be easy to get, therefore if you already have them, they're going to go down in price. Okay, because First Light is getting ditched, some of the gold is going to Morningdale and Weaver's Fen. Completely fine. There are some big changes to fishing, and if I'm honest, I don't quite understand the full impact of this. I'm not really a fisher when it comes to New World, but a couple of things they're doing is they're spreading out where all of the fish are. I'm going to say I read that somewhere, and that's where it goes. They're going to be in different homes, so wherever you get your fish right now might not be where you get your fish in this patch. Well, this will be the PTR, but you know what I mean when it goes live. The celebration isn't going to come into place when you do a common and rare. It's going to be when you get like legendary or whatever it is. You know who'll be the best person to speak to when it comes to this? Fivehead. He'll know all the details. This will make like a big impact, but I just literally don't know what it truly means, and I don't want to waste your time. Probably because of Lemony, they're changing seasons a little bit. Obviously they're introducing season 2, but they've increased the quantity of tasks in the chapters 2, 4 and 5, basically trying to say there's more to do in these tasks, in these chapters, therefore you'll get more XP. And they actually say this here: your journey will now play a slightly larger role in progressing the season pass. Good. I think it should be probably like a bigger role just in general, so that makes sense. They're going to give you more XP as well from the challenges. Activity cards will now have 3 tasks from each category, and the activity card list will now have 21, up from 16. So you'll be re-rolling less. They're adding some new activities as well. Lemony will be in his head calculating the absolute quickest way to do all of this. Hopefully it's not standing in Outpost Rush this time. And then one of the big ones in the quality of life section, they have added a play requested feature to be able to search for perks and gems within the inventory. I'm hoping that means that if you have an item and you want, say, if it's got Insatiable Gravwell, you can search for that item and that perk. Beautiful. This is perfect for like Ward and Bane gear. I really like this if it is what I think it is. Really good change. Like, I was almost tempted to move on there, but if this is what I think it is and it's as good as I think it might be, this is really, really important for your gear management. Like, it's such a relief if they do this. It's huge. Hopefully it's as good as it is with the trading post. I would sort of like it to be a filter. That'd be really cool. But the fact that if I want to see my Beast Ward, if I actually have any Beast Ward items, and I can just click the button or whatever and search for it, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Very intrigued how that will work. A little bit of a change to war here. Companies now must have at least 25 members to declare the war. Basically, it wasn't working out the way they wanted, so they're doing this. I think smaller companies was probably like trying to get in, either to disrupt it or then to get mercenaries to help them get it. and now they don't really want that much to be the case, so they're changing it a little bit. I think this was actually somewhat in the group already, somewhat in the game already. When you're in a group, you can pick your role, even if it doesn't really make any sense. Like if you just joined a random group, you can still do it. That's quite good actually. And really for me, that's probably all of the key things. Obviously, as I said, the patch notes are quite large, and I've already been going for like 20 minutes and it's after midnight, so I'm going to cease here. But let's just look at the patterns again, the release schedule, sorry. So when this does go live, and we don't know when it is, it's the summer event, the 3v3 arena map, first light retraction, very intriguing what that's going to end up being, obviously. And then for the release 2, it's actually the season pass basically, as well as raid groups. One of these, is this the Siege of Sulphur, or is it season 2 trial, sorry, which is actually going to be the one where it's sort of like a raid. It'll be a 10-man group. Hopefully it's instant, but it sounds like you can bring more than 10. Going to be interesting nonetheless. Then it's a Sandworm trial. We'll probably try and get a group of content creators and everybody together and actually see if we can do that one. Then Cross-World Outpost Rush. Not really sure how you test that without having 2 servers. We'll see if that's what we get. Lovely stuff though. I do really like most of it. I'm going to edit this up though and go to bed. Have a beautiful night. Have a beautiful day. Goodbye.